Hello everyone, welcome to Train Me Buddy. This is Siddharth. In today's video, I'll show you how to start with SQL queries using SQL Server. I have made this tutorial to help you learn step-by-step SQL using very simple examples, which will be useful if you are a beginner and looking for a career as a SQL developer, or if you are a student and want to use it in your academic. What will you learn from this course is installing SQL Server and SQL Server Management Studio, creating database and tables, insert data into table, select data from a table. So we'll be going through in detail like select star, select specific columns, select top records, order by, distinct, where clause, and or not operators, in, between, and like operators. So let's get started. So before we go into the detail of the SQL, let's understand what is SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and it is used for accessing and manipulating the data in databases. SQL queries are used to perform different tasks such as insert data into a database or update data on a database or retrieve data from a database. Now, what software we need to install to learn SQL? So as I will be taking you through SQL using SQL Server, we need two softwares. One is SQL Server, which will be installing the SQL Server database engine, and another one is SQL Server Management Studio or SSMS. This is the client to connect to SQL Server database engine. So let's get started with me. Let me open the browser, and from Google, let's search for SQL Server. Here, let me open this link from Microsoft. Here, it will be showing different options for downloading the SQL Server, like Developer and Express Edition. Both the editions are free to install. Let me go with Developer Edition for this tutorial. So let's download from here, and it will download the exe installation file. Now I have got it downloaded. So let's open the installer. This will ask you to proceed. Click yes. Now we have this wizard open here, and we have different options to select a installation type. So basic installation type will install the SQL Server database engine with default configuration. Custom installation type will allow you to choose what components you want to install, and this takes longer than installing basic installation. Or you can go with the download media installation type, which will allow you to download the SQL Server installation files, and you will install later in your system, or if you want to install it in any other system, this will be useful. So let me go with basic installation type. Then here you need to accept. Then you need to choose the installation location. So by default, it is showing the default location, and you can change the location for this. But let me go with the default one and click install. So this will take some time to download the software. So let me skip it in this video. Now download has been completed and started with the installation. Installation will take some time. So let me also skip this portion in this video and go to the end. Now the installation is completed successfully, and you will be seeing this screen with instance name, which is needed to connect to your SQL Server database engine. So I can use localhost to connect to the SQL Server. And we have the SQL administrator as my Windows user, which can be used for administration purpose. Feature installed, as we have installed Developer Edition, so it is showing the version of the installation as developer. You can save this information for easy reference for connecting to the SQL Server. Then you need to install SSMS to connect to SQL Server database engine. So let me click on this install SSMS button here, and it will be taking us to the link from Microsoft, or you can directly search it in Google. Let me click on the free download for SQL Server Management Studio option here. So now we have the SSMS installer downloaded. Let's open the installer. This will ask you to proceed. Click yes, and it will take you to the installation wizard. Let me click install here. So this installation will take some time. So let me skip it in this video and go to the end. Now the installation of SSMS is completed and it will ask you to restart the system. So let's restart the system and get back to the training. Now we have the required software for our training. So let me open SSMS. Here in the connect to server, I have selected the server type as database engine, server name as localhost, authentication. I have selected the Windows authentication and let's connect. Now we have connected to the SQL server. Let's start with creating a database. The database can be created either using the Object Explorer here, or we can write SQL query. So let me start with creating a database from the Object Explorer. So for this, I am going with a new database. Let me put the database name as testdb and OK. And here you can see the database is created. So I can delete this database by right click on this and you can select the delete and click OK. So now the database is deleted. Alternatively, let's create the database using SQL query. For this, open a new query window using the new query option here. So let me click here. Let's create a database using create database name. Let me put the database name as my.db and let me execute this query. So let me refresh the databases and here the my.db database has been created. If you expand the my.db, so here you have all these folders coming by default. Let's start with creating a table from the Object Explorer. So let me go with the new table and in this window you need to provide the column name and data type. So let's start with creating a table called customer. So we'll have the customer ID. As the customer ID is numeric, let's put the data type as int. Then let's have first name as varchar, as it will have the string value. I will cover detail about the data types in a future video. So I'll put the link in the description. Let's have last name as varchar, phone as varchar, email as varchar, street varchar, city varchar, state also as varchar, zip code as varchar. So we have the customer ID, first name, last name, phone, email, street, city, state, and zip code as the columns created for the customer table. So let me save this table by clicking on the save button. So here you can provide the name as customer. Let me expand the tables here. And here you see the customer table has been created. Now let's create a table using SQL query. So for this, let me go with the new query. And here, make sure that you have selected the right database. So I have selected my.db and let's have the query as create table, then table name. Start with the bracket and let's end with the bracket. And here, let me put the column names. Product ID as integer, as it will be holding the numeric value. Then product name as varchar. Product category as varchar 50, 50 being the length, and we'll be having the comma separator between each columns. Item price will be holding the price of the product. So let's have the data type as decimal. So let me have decimal 10, 2 to hold the decimal value. And let me execute this query. And let's have this refreshed. And here we can see the product table has been created. Let's create few more tables using the ready query I have put the link for the scripts in the description box. Let me execute this query and refresh the tables. So now you see all these tables created, and we'll be using these tables for our learning throughout this tutorial. So we have all the tables required for our training. So let's get started with inserting the data into our tables. So let's start with insert into table name, customer, then values, and with the open parenthesis, let me provide the column values in the sequence. It is there in the table. So we have here customer ID. So let me put the customer ID as 1, customer first name, customer last name, customer phone number, customer email, street, city, and let me put the state and zip code. Let me run this query by clicking on the execute, or you can alternatively press F5 to execute the query. And let's check the data in this customer table. So now you see that one record created in the customer table. Let me prepare some more data or insert the data into all the tables using the ready query I have. You can find this script in the link provided in the description box. So let me execute this ready query, and let me go back to the customer table and check the data. So we have all the data available in the customer table. Similarly, you can right click on the other tables from the Object Explorer and see the data. I have the data for employee. Then let's select top 1000 rows. So from product, and I have all the data for products inserted. Similarly, sales and sales detail and stores. So we have the data inserted for all the table. Now we have the data inserted into our tables. So let's go through the select statement in detail. So select statements are basically used to select or retrieve data from a table. When we want to retrieve all columns in a table, we need to write select star from and table name. So let me put the table name as customer, and let me execute this query. Alternatively, you can use F5 for executing the query. So now you can see that we have 19 rows in customer table, and it is getting all the columns in the result set. So we have the customer first name, last name, phone number, and all these columns available here. So if you want to select the specific columns from the customer table, let's have the query as select. Then let's have the column names as first name from table name. Let me execute this. So here we are getting only the first name from customer table in the result set. So we can also retrieve data from multiple columns by using the query as with a comma separated column names here. So we have the first name already selected. So let me have the last name from customer table, and let me execute this. So now we have the first name and last name selected in the result set from customer table. So as you see here, we have 19 rows in the customer table. So if you want to select first specific number of rows from customer table, you can use the top command. So let's have the query as select top, let me put 5 star from customer. So let me execute this query. So here you can see that we got top 5 rows from customer table. Select top query is useful when you need to see some sample data from a table which is having huge volume of data. So this is always useful to analyze the data by seeing the sample data using top command. So in this result set, we got the records from customer table, and it may not be sorted by default. So if you want to sort the data in customer table and select in the result set, then we need to use the order by command. So let me put select star from customer, and let me use order by. Then let's have the column name as first name. So Let me select the query and execute. And here you see now that the data or the result set from customer table has been sorted with the first name in alphabetical order. The order by keyword sorts the records in ascending order by default. To sort the records in descending order, we can use DESC keyword. So we can put here as DESC and execute. So with this descending keyword, you can see here that first name is sorted with descending order. We can also sort the records by using multiple columns in the order by clause. So let me put another column here. So let's have first city, comma, first name. Let me use the default one, ascending order. So let me execute this query, and in this output you can see the customer table data has been selected, and this has been sorted with two columns, city and first name. So as the city starts with B in our data, so you can see the data has been sorted for the city with B, and it is sorted with first name as A. We use a distinct keyword to select unique data from a table. So let's have the query as select distinct star from customer. So if I execute this query, still I am getting 19 rows, because with the combination of all the columns, we have unique records in customer table. So if we have duplicate records, so distinct can be used to get the unique record from the table. Also, we can specify the column names for which we want to get the unique records. So let me put the distinct city from customer table. So let's execute this. So we have 17 distinct or 17 unique city in the customer table. Similarly, if I want to check the distinct states in the customer table, so we have only 4 distinct state in the customer table. So far we have selected all the rows from customer table. So if you want to filter data from customer table based on certain criteria defined in the select statement, then we need to use where clause. Where clause is used to filter rows from a table. So let's say we want to select the customers who belong to the state California. So for that, we need to have the query as select star from customer, and let's have where, and the condition as state equal to, let me have CA as the code for California. So let me execute this query, and here we can see all the records which satisfy the condition as the state as CA. So we can see only 5 records from customer table. One thing, remember that when we are using the where clause and certain criteria, whether we are using a text value or numeric. So when we are using the text value, as you see here, the CA as the state, so we are using the single quote to accommodate the text value. However, we don't need single quote when we want to select the data or when we want to specify the filter criteria for a numeric value. So let's have an example. So let's have customer ID equal to 1. Now let me execute this. So here we can see only one record which is having the customer ID as 1. This is obvious because the customer table is having the unique customer ID for each customers it is having. Please note that the where clause is not only used in select statements, it is also used along with update and delete statements, which we will see in the upcoming topic in this tutorial. So if you want to filter the data by using multiple conditions, so we can have the query as select star from customer, and let me have the where clause state equal to CA, and let me have another condition. So for this I can use the AND operator, and let's have city as, so this is getting the customer data where the state as CA and the city as Campbell. So we can have more and more conditions in the where clause using the AND operator. AND operator displays a record if all conditions are satisfied or all conditions are true. So here we are having the state as CA and city as Campbell. So for this record which we are seeing in this output, so we have both the conditions satisfied. That's the reason it is displayed over here. So instead of AND, we can have OR operator. So OR operator displays a record if any of the conditions are satisfied. So let's have the same query with OR operator. So I'll have here the OR. So let's execute this query. And here you can see 5 rows are selected from customer table where any of these criteria are satisfied. So here we have the state as CA and Campbell as the city. So any one condition is satisfied. So as the first row, both the conditions are satisfied, but other 4 rows are not having the city as Campbell, but it is having the state as CA. So any of these conditions are satisfied, and that's the reason it is displayed in the output. So let's go back to the query where we have selected the data for CA. So we have 5 rows selected here. We can use not operator to get the data which are not belong to the state of CA or California. So we can have the query as where not state equal to CA. So let me execute this. And here you see that the data it is displayed over here is not having any record with the state as CA. Alternatively, we can have the same output using the query. So I'll be slightly modifying this. So I'll remove not and we can have not equal to. So for not equal to, we can have the less than and greater than symbol together and the condition. So here it should be getting the same 14 records which are not having the record with the state as CA. So far we have learned the where clause to select data based on a where condition with one value. So if you want to have the where clause with multiple values as a criteria for one column, then we can use in. So let me have the query for in as select star from. So let me get the data from customer table where state I can use in. So for this I need to have the opening bracket and closing bracket, and here I can put the values. Let me put the value as CA and NY. So let me execute this query. And here we can see the data in the output from both the state CA and NY. So if you want to order this data by state, let me add one more keyword as we have learned order by. So now we have the data ordered by the state, so CA and NY. So if you want to have one more condition for in, so let me have this as AZ and let's execute this. So now we have the data from 3 states which satisfies this in condition. So we have the customer data selected here from 3 states, California, New York, or Arizona. We can also use not along with the in condition to get the data which doesn't belong to any of these state. So let me execute this query, and here we are getting the data which are not belong to the states mentioned over here as part of the in condition. So we have only the data for TX. Between operator selects values within a range we specify. We can have values as numbers, text, or dates. The range will have a begin and end value. So let's have the query with begin as, let me put select from. Let's go with product where item price between 10 and 15. So let me select this data. So here we are getting the data from product table where the item price is between 10 and 15. To see it properly, we can have order by item price. So let's execute this, and you can see that we have the data from the range of 10 to 50. So if we see the whole data in product table, so we have around 18 rows, but for this filter criteria we are getting 8 rows out of 18 from the product table. To display the products outside the range of this example, we can also use not. So let's have item price not between 10 to 15. So let me execute this query. Here we can see the product information for which we are having the item price not between the range of 10 to 50. Like operator is used in a where clause to search for a column value with specific pattern. There are two wildcard characters mostly used with like operator. Those are %sign and underscore. So let's have the like operator using percentage. So let's start from customer, where let's say customer first name, like I'll put the condition as a percentage and execute. So here you can see the customer with the first name starting with the character A. Then if you want to change the sequence of the percentage and A in this way and execute this query, then this will be getting all the customer data where the name is ending with A. So to change it a little bit, we can have the condition of like. So let's change it to AR percentage. So if you're having the like condition with 2% and in between certain character values, then this will be getting the customer first name that have AR in any position. Now let's have the like operator using underscore. So let's have select star from customer, where first name like, so let me put underscore a percentage and execute. So in this output we are getting the records from customer table for which we have a first name that have a in the second position. So this specifies the number of characters it will be skipping to check the required character we are searching for in the like condition. So now if we want to get customers with a first name that starts with A and having at least 5 characters in length, for this I'll be using a query with 4 underscore in between, or 4 underscore after A. So let's have A 1 2 3 4 4 underscores and percentage. Let me execute. And here, as you see, the first name is starting with A and having a total of 5 characters in the first name for both these rows from customer table. Let's have some more variations of like and wildcard characters. So let me have the query as select start from customer, where first name like, let's have here S percentage A. Here it will select all the customers with a first name that starts with S and ends with A. So here we have the first name as Sudha. So we have only one record with this criteria satisfied from the customer table. Now, if we need to select the customers with a first name that doesn't start with A, then we need to have the query as not like a percentage. So let's execute this. So here you are getting the output from customer table with the first name not starting with A. Let's have another one. So here let's have the where clause, where city like as a percentage and execute. So here we are getting all the records from the customer table with the city starting with first 2 characters as SA. Now let's change it a little bit. So here, let's say I'll have underscore HOENIX, then execute. And here it is getting the data from customer table for which we have the values from second position HOENIX. So that means one character is been filled with any one. So here we have the city Phoenix. So you can get all these queries in the link provided in the description box. Thank you for watching. Hope this tutorial is useful for you. Please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe the channel and hit on the bell icon so that you will be notified about the upcoming new videos. If you have any doubts or suggestions, please feel free to put it on the comment. Thank you.